Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Westmarch Workshop.
Hi-oh! So, thank you everyone for coming out and joining us. This is obviously our first episode of Westmarch Workshop, and try saying that one 10 times fast. A lot harder than you think until you actually go through and start talking about it when
We
you're
built a
recording.
tongue twister into the title of the show.
That's how you know it's going to be good.
There you go.
We're going to be starting up. This is our new weekly podcast. We are going to obviously bring you the news and coverage about what's going on in the world of Diablo, what's happening in Sanctuary. We'll also be talking about, what it is that we're doing in the game, our goals, how we feel about certain changes or the direction that they're taking the game. We're also going to be looking for feedback from you all, because one of the great things in Reaper of Souls is that the new itemization system is just opening the door to everything. Cookie cutters are almost a thing of the past now, as legendaries and skill diversities are just making it so almost anything that you do is viable. And that's led to a lot of people being, well, where do I go next? I found this item, or I saw this really cool skill I want to use. What do I do? And we'll hopefully be here to help you. So we'll definitely be asking for your input, your feedback, questions, builds that you like to see. Tips or tricks in order to try and maximize your efficiency, and we'll just be going through from there and trying to help everyone out.
Yeah, so Nine Ball said it pretty good right there. We're going to be mostly showing you guys some builds, but we're also going to be bringing you news. And I think to start off, we just want to tell you guys about our week. Let you guys know what we've been up to since Reaper of Souls first came out. So Nine Ball, do you want to fill us in first? I know you have some tragic news.
Yes, I have some tragic news. From those that know me from Diablo.blizzpro.com, as well as one of the other Diablo podcasts that I do. I'm primarily a hardcore player, and like all hardcore characters do, I just lost my first demon hunter. Or not my first demon hunter, but my first 70 demon hunter over the weekend. It was very annoying death. Very, it's like one of those ones that almost kind of feels cheap, but you get over it, you move on. I was just getting into Torment for the first time. I'd gone from 300k damage to 500k in one evening, threw on like 30% extra lightning damage, had an amazing Stone of Jordan drop, and it's like, okay, I'm ready for Torment 1. And then the Armored Destroyers in Act 4, an elite pack just dropped down on my head, and I died. Not even an attack, not an arcane beam or anything like that. Just one-shotted, flat out. I didn't even know that did damage. Did you know that did damage?
The jailer affix?
Not the jailer. Just them spawning. They
wow.
come in, from the sky, and they kind of then come out. They have the immunity for like the half a second. I never even noticed.
Oh man.
Before.
Yeah, it seems like they've. I was talking to Wyatt Cheng at BlizzCon, and they said they're making a lot of things unavoidable that used to be avoidable. So
yeah,
like Desecrate used to take a while to do damage, and now it does damage immediately. And Frozen Orb and Jailer now do damage. Frozen Orb used to, but now it does before it even goes off. So yeah, I think they just really want to. They want to force you to have a certain level of toughness before doing certain difficulties. They don't want to make it so that you can just avoid all damage by dodging well enough.
Yeah, and that's one of those other ones where it's you mentioned them adding the damage onto the jailer and such. What is it? The winter moths, the things that no one even cares about, the little electric bugs out in the northern highlands in Act 1.
Yeah.
Their damage got buffed by 500% from what they were in vanilla. And so if you get an elite pack of those on a relatively high torment level, they really start to hurt, even if you have high levels of toughness. So it's something to definitely keep an eye out for. It's still going through. It's one of the experiences of being a hardcore player, things that other people might not have encountered, or things that you just haven't read yet. You kind of come across things, and it's a surprise. Going into the Malthael fight for the first time, I went in ignorant. I purposely didn't look up any strats or what the fight was beforehand, because it just, I want to see, am I good enough to react? Thankfully, I didn't die then. But it's just, it's part of the fun, because you don't know what to expect, and your death literally could come around any corner. So it's definitely is an experience. But Besides that, I got my Crusader to 70. I kind of been playing him, and well, obviously now I've got a level 14 Demon Hunter that is making the journey again. But what about you? What have you been doing since launch?
Let's see. Of course, at launch, we were both at the Reaper Souls launch party. That was a lot of fun. That was the first time me and Nineball actually got to meet in person. That
Yeah,
was pretty
yeah,
cool.
because I think at BlizzCon I saw you as you were finishing a conversation with Wyatt Chang, and then I saw your back as you walked away. I was like, that guy's really tall. That's probably Archon.
I guess second time being near each other in real life, and first time
Yep,
actually meeting.
there we go.
Yeah, so hit 70 at the launch event, and then when we got back, I just wanted to, farm as efficiently as possible. And I knew my viewers were more in tune than I was at that point, and so I just relied on them. Like, what's the most efficient way to farm? Because unlike Nine Ball, fun is second on my priority list, right after
Oh,
efficiency. Efficiency first. Fun can
joy
wait.
kill.
I don't like it either. It's just what happens when I play games like this. But yeah, right away I got pretty lucky. I got a bottomless potion of the leech, so
Oh,
everyone's super jelly of me because I got a legendary potion. It was my first legendary drop after getting home. Uh,
that's not bad.
yeah,
It's the you got it level 70.
yeah. Right after I hit level 70, first thing I did after killing Mothel was kill the butcher, and he dropped legendary potion of the leech, bottomless potion of the leech rather.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah, so that's good for me. I'm mostly just glad that I don't have to have health potions on me because I always forget to stock up on health potions. So I'm it's a dumb way to die, but it happens to me all the time.
How do you feel about the fact that you auto pick them up now that you don't need them? They're just taking up inventory space.
Yeah, I it's a little annoying. As soon as I get back to town, I open my inventory and then auto drop them on the ground. By auto, I mean I drag them onto the ground. But yeah, like 20 gold a piece. They're not really worth it to sell.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would have liked that system a lot if I didn't have a legendary potion.
Hmm.
So maybe there's like a checkbox in the options.
Yeah. Or what do you think? Like one of the things they're going to be adding future in the game that they talked about in the beta was making um, all of the crafting materials have its own inventory. What if they made potions like that, where it didn't actually take up something in your bags and was just its own counter down there with blood shards?
Yeah, I'd like that a lot. And they talked about doing that. They've talked about making the crafting mats currency, and yeah, I think that could be a lot better. I'm all for like auto picking up stuff and not taking up inventory space. I know some people like managing inventory space, but I like to keep things simple. I guess I'm pretty lazy.
The good old inventory Tetris.
Yes, yes. We were talking earlier before the show. There was a forum post of someone complaining about all the things Diablo 3 doesn't have, and one of those features, of course, was inventory Tetris.
I have many fond memories of inventory Tetris in Diablo 2, and that but that I fully understand that is all rose-tinted glasses, and I'm very thankful that they did not bring it back.
Yeah, you can hardly call it Tetris. You don't have nearly as many shapes as
Hmm.
Tetris, right? You're pretty limited there.
Yeah, you've got no L's.
Yeah,
they're all
you
squares
always
and
need an L, and there's no L.
yeah, exactly.
No, but yeah. So I got a legendary potion, and then we started farming. Started farming rifts because I thought rifts were like the way to go, but quickly found out that you can get legendaries faster doing normal bounties. At least if you need the legendaries that drop from bounties.
Hmm.
And so we did that for a while to get some beginner legendaries. We did some testing between like Torment 1 rifts or Torment 1 bounties and normal bounties. Turns out right now it's just worth it to play on normal, which kind of sucks. We did that for a while, and then after they buffed the Torment drops, which I think we're gonna talk about in a little bit, we started doing rifts instead. And then just yesterday decided that we were gonna go and get a Hellfire Ring. And actually, let me show you. I have to show you guys this Hellfire Ring. So let me just switch over to the gameplay stream here because it was so depressing today. I was so excited to get this Hellfire Ring. It took us forever, and and we finally got it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to show the viewers first. You guys give it a score 1 to 10, and then I'll look at it.
It's
And
a doozy.
I knew I was in trouble when I started to see just nothing but ones going down the screen. So it's got 444 vit, 383 armor, chance to deal 19% area damage, and 1554 life on hit. It couldn't be much worse. And yeah, I don't even think I'm gonna re-roll one of the stats. It's just not quite there. So
No, no. It's
no.
like
Not gonna work.
And maybe if it had at least rolled int, you know.
Yeah, yeah, just a stat would have been nice, but yeah. And then Mikey was playing with me, one of my viewers, and he got a ring that was only a little bit better. So we're still farming keys. We're gonna keep going until we get a usable Hellfire Ring, I think. But yeah, that's where
Well,
I am now.
best of luck in that endeavor.
Thanks. Yeah, it takes so long. Now that there's not a difficulty where you're guaranteed a legendary drop, it can be a while before you get that Hellfire Ring.
Yeah. But speaking of you're testing out with the different difficulties and the efficiencies of farming. I guess let's jump into some of the news this past week. Obviously, the game is finally out. Yay!
Yes.
But there's been a relatively small number of hot fixes, but they've had some major ramifications on the game. The most actually starting before Reaper Souls even launched. They made the changes to Torment difficulties where they pushed all class sets into Torment only, so you can't actually farm them up in normal anymore. And then just this past week they did even further, where they upped the drop chance of legendaries in Inferno, or here I am, Inferno difficulty. In
Right.
Torment higher, to try and give people more incentive to play Torment because, well, as you're just saying, normal was king.
Yes. Yeah, and I think for bounties it probably still is, unfortunately. Yeah, it's just a really weird. I would love to talk to one of the devs about this because it's a weird idea that if you go up difficulties in Nephilim rifts, then all your drops are increased. But if you go up difficulties doing bounties, then it's only the drops you get while you're killing mobs. Not the cash seem to be exactly the same regardless of what difficulty you farm them in. And so yeah, it seems to be an issue right now. I hope they do something to resolve it. Um, I could see it fixing itself. I could see it eventually it being just as easy to do Torment 1 as it is to do normal because your gear is just that good. You have that much damage. So I don't even know. Maybe that's what the devs are thinking. Maybe it'll fix itself. But right now, we've been sticking to rifts because we don't want to do normal bounties. And yeah, since the change, I feel like doing Torment rifts is fairly comparable to doing bounties. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy to get fragments right now. You can do nothing but rifts. But I don't know if you went to the forums or were tapped into the community at all after they made the change. But from my end, it seemed like all the players were saying that the drop rate had either not changed at all or had gotten lower since the change.
Really?
Which
I,
I don't think it actually happened. That'd be really weird if it, but it just goes to show you um,
yeah,
all the tinfoil hat wearing players out there, I guess.
yeah, anecdotal evidence.
Yes, yes. I played for 2 hours and only got one legendary. That's a large enough sample, I think.
Yep. And then of course there's the other person that played for an hour. They got 7 legendaries, but they're not posting on the forums, so you
Yeah.
don't get to hear voice.
They're still playing Diablo. They want to get more legendaries.
Exactly. If I got 7 legendaries in an hour, I'd still be farming Torment. That's for certain.
Yeah, they must be on a loot server. You got to stay on that.
Full circle on that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
good old loot servers.
Yeah. Disclaimer: there are no loot servers.
Uh-huh.
I have to throw that out
And
there.
kudos to you if you know what we're referencing. You've been trudging through since the beginning. We thank you for it.
And if you don't, you're probably better for it, so it's okay.
Yeah. But I know I've written about this topic a little bit, and I'm really for it. I know there was a lot of people that were complaining, especially when they switched the class sets to Torment only, because they were kind of like, why are you nerfing my fun? Why are you going through and dictating how I play the game? And I can see their point, even though I don't agree with it. I definitely think that it's a much better goal from a developer standpoint. Because why are you going to go through all the trouble of making these higher difficulties when there's no rewards for doing it? Like you said, it might very well be just like MP10 versus MP1 when that system first came out. Everyone was farming MP1. Everyone said, well, MP10 is useless. No one's ever going to do it. Mathematically, I have all this proof of why, no one will ever go above MP1 or MP0. And then, of course, at the end of Vanilla Diablo's life, if you weren't farming MP10, what the hell were you doing? And so it definitely goes to show that as time goes on and gear got better, it did balance itself. It's whether they want to make those changes to make the balance now, or whether they want people to wait 8 or 9 months for it, to kind of auto correct. And it's not really something that you want to balance your game with, especially when it just came out. There's a lot of positive hype about it. You want people to feel that it was designed with those intentions from the beginning, and to give people that reason to go through and strive for the higher difficulty, so they have a goal to work towards, not an 8-month goal, but like a week, 2-week goal before you can get into Torment 4 or plus or whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like the moving class sets to Torment was kind of like a lazy man's balance. Like, even if it's not perfectly balanced, you still have a reason to play Torment.
Yeah.
Like, even if you find out you get legendaries faster on normal, there's still something that's being held from you. You still have that incentive, and I feel like maybe that was a solution to combat the problem they had with the MPs, where if the higher MPs were less efficient, there was just no reason to play them. Now you at least have some incentive, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. And also, the second hotfix that they did, where they just upped the drop rates in the higher torments, is definitely, it's always nicer to have a buff to incentivize. There, what he said.
Yeah.
To play at the higher difficulty than nerfing the lower difficulty.
Definitely.
So there's definitely. And that's definitely a better solution. Though it is, some you have to make some decisions that's not going to be popular with the community, for the embetterment of the game. Sometimes there's no way around it.
Yeah, definitely. And that seems like kind of the way it goes. Before the game comes out, nerf away. Players aren't paying attention, but once players are invested in the game, buffs are always better because players are going to hate nerfs. I mean, I guess at a certain point. If there's just one skill that's super powerful, maybe that one needs a nerf. But I think devs try to buff instead of nerf whenever they can.
Mm-hmm. It definitely goes over a lot better with the community. That's for certain.
No doubt. And speaking of buffs, I was also very excited to see the Blood Shard buff in the most recent hotfix. Yeah, because I got no legendaries before the hotfix. I've gotten I think 3 since then. But one more reason why rifts have been efficient for us is we just seem to get blood shards a lot faster doing rifts.
Yeah, and to go back, what Archon is talking about is the blood shard vendor. What's her name? Kadala?
Yes, Kadala sounds right.
Yes, there we go. I just looked at her in the game. Yes, Kadala.
Awesome. Okay.
We were right.
Got it.
All right, we got it. She is the daughter of Geed for the Diablo 2 fans out there. And anyone that cares anything about lore, which I might be preaching to the wrong group at this point, but she had a buff. Beforehand it was really rare that you'd get a legendary. It really was a legendary feat to get a legendary from her, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But they significantly increase the chance of getting legendaries from her, so it actually makes your blood shards have some value, that when you're trying to go through and roll an upgrade for an item, or just you want to throw a bunch of blood shards at it and hope that you get a Thunder Fury, anything like that. Yeah. So now you actually have a fair expectation. If you're going to go in with the cap, I think is 500 blood shards, you're probably going to get a couple, if you spend all of it on
you think
rolling it. I believe 500 is the cap.
Oh, yeah, 500 is definitely the cap. I've been getting about 1 legendary. I'd say 1 or 2 legendary for every 1,000 blood shards.
Oh, really? Okay. I've had. I guess this is going back to the anecdotal evidence. I had a couple friends that they all burned through 500, and I think the fewest was 2. That
wow.
They had got. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say it's pretty safe to say that they got lucky, just according to what viewers have told me and stuff, but it also could be that I got unlucky. Maybe it's just too soon to say.
Could be.
Now, do you know which legendaries you can get from blood shards?
Yes. You can get pretty much any legendary in the game with 2 exceptions. First one is, of course, you cannot get the bounty-only legendaries. So things like the Thorns Bracers or the Gloves of Worship, the one that increases the Shrine buff from Act 2. You can't get any of those. And you can also not get any of the Torment-only legendaries. Even if you go into a Torment game, and go and use all your blood shards with her, unfortunately that won't work. You're not getting any of the Torment only, so no class sets or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Still a pretty big pool of legendaries, I guess.
Hmm.
And if you guys want to see what legendaries you can get from caches, I don't have a link readily available, but it's easy to find on Google. There's only about like 4 to 6 legendaries per act, but you can look through them, pick which ones you want, and just farm those acts and get them fairly quickly. I find that caches have about a 10% legendary drop chance, maybe 5 to 10.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent drop chance. I was surprised with how often you're finding legendaries in them.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a list online. You can figure it out. I really like that idea that you can farm for specific legendaries.
Yeah, it really makes it nice, in that respect. That some of them, especially something like the Ring of Royal Grandeur, which it makes it to where it counts for any of your sets. It basically makes it so you have one additional set piece with a minimum of two. So if you have one of the class sets and you have at least two pieces, it counts as you having three. So it eliminates the need of having to have one additional set piece. So you can get the full five piece set bonus with only four actual pieces of the set. Having that is something that you can target farm by just doing Act 1 or Act 4 again and again and again. Makes that really helpful for some of those ones that might be dependent upon, that multiple builds might be dependent upon them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's really my friend Mikey that I've been playing a lot with. He had 3 pieces of Marauders, which is a really nice Demon Hunter set.
so jealous. I'm totally jealous.
And,
That's what I'm going for with my Demon Hunter.
yeah, you're going pet based. That's right.
Yeah, I wanted to try out the pet one with the full Marauders set. So you have all the companions, and get the 3 wolf cloak, so that way you can have the 3 wolves out at the same time, and then go with all the sentries and have fun.
Yeah, while you're on zoo following you. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, 4 piece Marauders makes it so all your companions are summoned at the same time. 6 piece makes it so your sentries fire your hatred spenders that you have equipped at the time.
Hmm.
I think definitely the best Demon Hunter set from what I've seen so far.
Oh yeah, by far.
But of course, he had the Ring of Grandeur, and so he has all of his companions out, and it's super buff.
Hmm.
Shows you. We all make fun of Mikey because he gets ridiculous loot. That's not really something to make fun of someone for, I guess. We all hate Mikey because he gets ridiculous loot. Is what I should have
There
said.
you go.
Yes.
There we go.
Hate him with a passion. No.
Love to hate. I'm not. This is the first time I've met you, Mikey, and I'm already jealous. And I guess I'm supposed to hate you now.
It's easy to hate someone that gets good loot, I think.
There we go.
Easy to hate. But yeah. Also, I guess didn't mention, but before the hotfix, I'm sure you as well, and probably most viewers, were opening all of our caches on Torment 6.
Yep. There's for it's too late now, so cat's out of the bag. But if you didn't know, prior to the hot fix, I was on, what was it, Saturday? I think it was Saturday's hot fix.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it was. If you opened a Herodric cache, you could farm, like 10, 20, 30, however many caches that you wanted to on normal, and you could then take it into a Torment game and open them, and they would roll as if you had found it in Torment. So the stats on your items would be better, the gold piles would be larger, and you actually had a chance at having Imperial gems instead of just the Maquis gems dropping.
Yeah, so luckily they fixed that. When my viewers told me that, I told them they were wrong. I was like, no, there's no way. We already addressed this in beta. It's fixed, guys. But sure enough, yeah. Somehow it slipped past them.
It did.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I guess there's a few other things they nerfed as well. People were farming rats. I didn't even know about this till they nerfed it. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get in on the rat action.
Yeah, this is one that I didn't know about either until I actually read it in the patch notes. But it was there is a alley in one of the random alleys. I believe it is in Westmarch Heights, the burning one.
Mm.
That you had to kill all the rats in this alley, and at the end of it, there were 3 piles that would spawn like a ridiculous number of rats at a time. So it's like 3 or 4 of them, and apparently people were just sitting there and waiting for the rats to come to them, and they were just killing them and farming them. Because it was just a continual stream of mobs that you could one shot even on a relatively high torment level, and they were farming items like that, and I guess experience as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, if you guys didn't see the hotfix, the rats no longer give you anything. So.
Yep.
No experience, no loot. We all missed out on that one. But although it looks like the thing that people are still doing is just chest farming.
Yeah, that one is still being a problem. And this kind of goes back to some of the things that people were doing, way back in the day. I'm sure you probably remember when the game first came out, is people were farming the vases and the royal crypts because there were no enemies, and
Yeah.
you could just run through with a ton of gold find and farm literally millions of gold per hour just by destroying vases, because it was so much money, and they had to go through and nerf it.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I guess what people are doing now, turning it up to Torment 6, putting on nothing but survival gear and just running through. I guess the most popular run right now from what I hear is Core of Ariat.
Hmm.
Just a quick run, few chests in there. And I mean, it's boring, but it looks like it's the most efficient way, unfortunately, right now. So if you're like me and efficiency is on your priority list right above fun, then looks like you're stuck in Core of Ariat for a while now. Because
Uh-huh.
that's where you want to be. I'm sure it's going to get a hot fix soon. And
Uh,
I guess as of you guys watching this, it might already be hot fix. I'm sure they're aware of it by now. But yeah, that's I guess a lot of streamers are
uh,
doing that.
yeah, and I mean that's one of those things that you don't expect to stay around for a while, but I can't stand it. If it's not fun, I can't do it. It's like, efficiency aside, there'll be some things, like obviously like opening the bags in the higher torment. I was going through and doing that because why not? It's like
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to open these bags anyways, whether it be on normal or torment. I might as well get some benefit out of it. But just like the Crypt of the Ancients runs or the Mirror Eamon runs, it's when I play to have fun. So I go through, I'll do bounties. I'll even go and do an act that doesn't have the bonuses or anything like that if it has a couple of bounties in an area that I need, like maybe a rare for an achievement or something along those lines. Because that's how I play. Though I definitely won't count anything against you for putting efficiency over all else. I think that leads to burnout.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that difference in playstyle has something to do with you caring about lore and me not caring at all, as well.
Maybe, maybe.
I don't. You know, it was just some point in my gaming career. I think around the time that I started getting into raiding in World of Warcraft.
Hmm.
Um, as soon as I learned the magic of min maxing, I was stuck.
Yeah, yeah. I Again, it's like that you go. I don't want to talk about WoW for too much, but I guess I'm similar in that I play the spec that I like the most, whether it's the top
Mm.
one or not. But I take that spec and I will min max it to its potential and play that thing like
So,
like a god. So I can feel you on that one.
so
Meet
you
you halfway.
were you like the Shadow Priest running Molten Core?
I was the demo lock.
Demo.
I've been playing a demo lock since classic. Everyone for this anyone that played a warlock back in classic, they're gonna remember 3021.
Yep, that's
Well,
what I was running.
I was 221 plus 2, if you even remember what that is. So that was mine. I was demo from the beginning, and I just don't look back. And if
uh,
you armory right now, you'll find I'm destruction, but don't tell anybody.
yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, yeah, I think the one other thing we want to talk about news-wise was the announcement that was made at the launch event,
Yeah.
which I think, unfortunately for Blizzard, didn't get out very well because the audio was so screwed up at the launch event, and they still haven't even released a transcript of the Q and
Yeah.
A.
Well, let alone a VOD of it. We don't even have the transcript or the any other questions, and the answers for it, which is very sad. But I guess it got they Lalira touched upon it on the forums yesterday. They picking April 1st to go through and talk about the future of the game.
Right. Yeah.
Takes some that is ballsy on that one.
Yeah, Droth Vader, the MVP, had posted a version of the transcript for the two important questions, which, of course, for the three people out there that haven't heard about it yet, tiered rifts and ladders were announced at the launch party.
Mhm.
And maybe we should talk a little bit about ladders. I know there are some people who didn't play D2, aren't too familiar with ladders, but this is something that players have been asking for a while now. It was a really popular feature in D2, and players, I think a lot of people were upset that it wasn't in vanilla Diablo 3. For a while, we were pretty sure we weren't even going to get it in Reaper of Souls. And then, of course, they throw it at us at the launch party.
Hmm.
Nineball, do you want to maybe go over a little bit just basics of ladders?
Yeah, we can take a trip down memory lane.
Sounds good.
Uh, for those that might never have played Diablo 2 or might have stopped playing Diablo 2, shortly after Lord of Destruction came out, never actually looked back. Ladders were originally it was a way that they designed to reset the economy because of botting and duping and such. It ruined the economy of any form of trading, and the only thing that they could solve it with was to do a ladder, which was reset everything. Everyone starts from scratch. You go through, you create a character on the ladder instead of the normal game, and you don't have access to anything else. So you had none of your characters, you had none of your items, you had to start all fresh. And so that's what they're going to be doing with the new. They're not calling it ladders anymore. They're calling it seasons. We don't have any actual details on what the difference between a season and a ladder will be, but some of the basics that we can kind of assume that they'll be doing or taking over is that you'll lose all your Paragon levels, so you're starting from scratch. You have no characters. You won't have access to your stash, so you won't have access to any of your items. You'll have to level up your artisans all over again, and just be starting. Just as if you had just installed the game for the first time on a new account. You can always go back and play your non-ladder characters if you wanted to, but it's a way of resetting everything. There's something that a lot of people enjoy that they kind of adds longevity to it.
Yeah.
And one of the aspects that they had in Diablo 2 was that there was a ranking, and you'd have the first person to reach level 99. And their name, in the beginning was like immortalized. It's like this was the first level 99 character in the first ladder and such, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and it seems like, from what Wyatt Shank has said in the past, that they're really focusing on the season aspect of it and not as much on the competitive aspect of it. I don't think they've said if there's going to be leaderboards for the actual ladder itself yet, or I should say seasons.
Hmm.
But yeah, it seemed like they wanted to focus more on the reset with that, which I love. But it seems like maybe they just want to put the competitive focus or the leaderboards focus on the tiered rifts, which was also, of course, announced at the Reaper of Souls
Yep.
launch event. And tiered rifts, for anyone who hasn't heard it, it's basically you're going to go through a Nephilim rift, and when you beat it, there's a chance that you get a greater rift key. And then you can use that greater rift key to open a harder Nephilim rift. And when you beat that Nephilim rift, I'm pretty sure you automatically get the greater rift key rank 2.
Yes, that was one of the things that Lylera mentioned is that after you beat that tier, you'll unlock the next one.
And then you just keep going, one more tier, one more tier, one more tier. And I'm pretty sure it just goes infinitely, getting harder and harder and harder. And there will be a leaderboard that shows who got to the furthest rift and how much time it took them to complete it.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if they're just going to forego the ladder leaderboard and just say, if you want to compete in seasons, then you can see how far you get in the tiered rifts before the season ends.
Why not both?
Maybe both. I just the fact that they're calling it season makes me think that they're not going to have a competitive focus on that aspect.
I don't know. The fact that they are calling it season, I guess for me that kind of drills in that they're having a more competitive focus on it. Because it's a season. It's like sports season, Hearthstone season. That you kind of like this is where you get out, you get your game face on, and you go. So it really plays in well. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things is one of the other things that they did in Diablo 2 was they added incentive to play on the ladders because there were rune words and there were uniques or the legendaries that only dropped on ladder. That was the only way of getting them, and I do wonder what they're going to do with seasons to add, if they're going to add any type of aspect where you can only get these items or these sets or something if you play on the ladder, and you
Yeah.
have to wait till the season ends to copy it over to your main characters.
Well, they did hint at that during the Q&A. They said that they're, I can't remember the exact words. I wish I had the post pulled up, but they said something like, "We're looking at season-specific goodies to give you guys for
Hmm.
playing." So I'm guessing they're going to have items. Real quick, before I forget, I wanted to point out that the Paragon experience you get while you're playing during seasons will carry over to your main account once that season ends.
Hmm.
So every season you start at 0, but it's not for naught. Your main account, if you're playing offline, you'll still get all that Paragon experience you earned while you're playing ladder. But
Just gotta
yeah,
wait for it.
yes, you'll have to wait for it. And if you're just playing ladder, then you'll never use it at all. You'll
Yeah,
only get
you
it.
won't care.
Yeah, you'll only get that experience permanently, of course, if you're playing non-ladder. But yeah, I think we'll have to wait and see who's right on this one because I think they do want a competitive focus, but I think they're
Hmm.
gonna limit that to tiered rifts, and I would predict more game modes to come that are similar to tiered rifts, and just don't have an overall leaderboard, but leaderboards for the specific events.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what they did with World of Warcraft and the challenge mode dungeons. They have the realm leaderboards and an overall leaderboard for each of the dungeons itself. So you could go through and see on my server who is the best at running this particular thing, and definitely be interested to see because they said there were the two metrics, right? There'd be the person that had gotten to the farthest tier, and then there'd be a ranking of the fastest clears per tier. This person cleared tier 1 in 3 minutes, because I guess the other thing to back up a little bit that we didn't really mention is that they'll always be the same. So for the tiered rift season, is going to be the same map, the same mob spawns, so that way every time you go in, it's the same thing. So you can actually go in and practice efficiency with doing the clear to kind of add incentive. Or this person got a 3-minute clear just because they had an easy spawn. No, everyone has to deal with the same exact thing every time.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. And honestly, this is in my opinion, what the game needed was something to do with your gear once you farmed it, other than farming gear, of course. Some kind of end game, and I think this is perfect, just a
Hmm.
way to really challenge you to test your character, and to have an overall number that's not just your gear. I mean, before Reaper of Souls, our big leaderboard was Diablo gear sites that ranked people's gear,
Hmm.
and it has nothing to do with skill. And now I think tiered rifts is the perfect way to rank people based on a combination of their gear and ability.
Yeah, because the people that are going to go in with relatively the same gear with relatively the same builds, and it's going to be their skill or their ability to practice that particular rift, is going to make the difference in who gets the fastest clear time. So it's really going to show off people's dedication, more so than anything. They want to be the best, and they're going to be able to go and now they have some way of proving that they are the best instead of just being like, I've got great gear.
Yeah. And speaking of builds and best, maybe we should talk a little bit about Frost Orb before moving on to our next topic.
Yeah, we could go through and talk about that one. I guess reverting back to a little bit about hot fixes and exploits. Although I guess it's not really an exploit. It's just really popular. As well, you're the wizard player. Let's have you talk about it.
Okay, well, I'll go over to gameplay. Me and Nimeball were just testing this right before the stream. I'll give you a little bit of backstory, full transparency. Um, Frost Orb has been incredibly popular, and I've known this, and I've been doing a lightning build, so I haven't been playing around with it much. Use it in the beta, but I haven't been testing it much, and I knew it was really strong. But it wasn't until Nimeball told me that Jade had mentioned that it's glitched that I finally tested it, and turns out it totally is. And I can say almost definitely after testing it, it looks like they've made the same mistake that they've made with a lot of other skills, including Trail of Cinders for for demon hunters, of course,
Demon Hunters.
and which is making a skill do the amount of damage it's supposed to do per cast per tick instead. So as you can see, Frozen Orb deals 393% weapon damage as cold. So that should be 393% weapon damage per cast. Most skills they will give you your weapon damage per cast, but when you test it, you realize it's actually doing 393 per tick,
Mm-hmm.
and Frozen Orb ticks 2 to 3 times, usually 3 times. So it looks like Frozen Orb's doing 2 to 3 times the damage it should do. And I only tested this for about 15 minutes. I could have missed something, but do your own testing. Look online. It really looks like that's what's going on. Doing the math, it looked almost exactly how I would expect it to look if it was doing 393 per tick. So two things to take from this, I guess. One is if you're not committed to another build, Frozen Orb's probably the way to go right now. It does way too much damage. And two, it's probably going to get hot fixed.
Yeah, and the reason that, and for us going through and talking about it here on the stream, I'm sure Jh is probably going to curse us for, making it even more well known.
And I'll just go ahead and give Jake some more credit for pointing that out, so that.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Never would have said anything, but Jake gave us a heads up. So. It looks like that's probably why all the wizards are using Frost Orb. It's just doing, or Frozen Orb, rather. It's just doing more than it should be doing. We were also going to show off a build, but I want to make sure. Was there anything else we wanted to do before we get to the build section?
No. I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
I mean, we talked about news probably a lot longer than we wanted to.
Yeah, we just got carried away, I guess.
That will happen.
There you go. Well, we were thinking during each show we want to show you guys at least one build. Sometimes it'll be a build we're using, sometimes it'll be a build we found or one that you guys gave us. This time we figured we'd just show you the build I've been using since I'm streaming. It's kind of easy to show you guys this build, and in the future we'd love to take recommendations from you guys. I guess we don't have an official email address yet, right?
Yeah, we didn't think that one out very well.
Okay, we don't think much things out. We just go with it.
Flow. We'll get it going. So yes. We should probably get an email address set up so that way people can actually send us stuff.
Yeah, so we'll set that up. For now, feel free to message me on Twitch, Archon the Wizard, or I'm trying to think, is there another email address that would be useful? Twitter, of course, at 9ballgamer. Is that right?
Yep, at 9ballgamer.
Or at Archon the Wizard. We'll be listening on Twitter as well. But of course we'll have an email set up soon. So we're thinking one build a week, and then we might also do some kind of challenge. If the build section was short one week, like we were just showing you something we found on Diablo Fans or something like that, then we would do a challenge as like the official event that week. And this is just kind of what we're thinking right now. We want this show to evolve, and if you guys don't like that, I think we'll change it. So feedback, especially in these early weeks, will really be appreciated. Again, just message me on Twitch, Archon the Wizard, or find one of us on Twitter. 9ballgamer, Archon the Wizard. So, this week, build, I'll explain to you really quickly, since I already did a YouTube video about it. This is a lightning build. And me and 9ball were talking about this a bit. It seems like the best way to go right now is just to kind of let your drops dictate your build. Would you agree, 9ball?
Yeah, definitely. This early in the game, with my poor demon hunter, I had an idea in mind, and makes me think of Mikey again. Thank you for having so much of that beautiful Marauder set. It's like I had an idea. I wanted to play around with a pet demon hunter, but that, of course, entailed I had to gear up myself to do Torment, so that way I can actually, have a chance at it dropping. And so there's definitely a long-term goal, not something that's going to happen overnight. But my actual build itself was determined by a couple of items that I had drop with lightning damage on it. So it's like, well, I'm going to switch over to Elemental Arrow and use Ball Lightning because I have, bonuses to lightning damage. What you have drop in the beginning is kind of going to determine what builds you play.
Yeah, almost definitely. So when you first start, you're not going to have many game-changing legendaries. Do whatever build you want, but if you really get stubborn about what build you're going after, you're going to waste a lot of money and time enchanting things to change them to your liking, and you're going to really gimp yourself because you're not going to have legendaries you need. I mean, I think it's fine to have an endgame build in mind, but for the time being, as you're going, really take a look at the legendaries you have, because there are some really good combos out there, and sometimes, even if you have to change up your build to something you don't normally play as, you can get a lot more efficient just taking advantage of those affixes. So for me, I found a lot of lightning stuff. I got lightning gear up the wazoo, way more than any of the elementals, so I went lightning, which I didn't mind. It's my favorite element right now.
You see a little connection there.
Yeah.
Game's trying to tell us something.
There you go. So I'm not able to take advantage of Frozen Orb. It actually isn't worth it with this build, but I'm fine with that. This is more of a tank build, because they really buffed melee skills. Electrocute, Arc Lightning, doing 310% weapon damage, which is huge as a primary skill. And I'll just show you guys the build a little bit. It really is entirely based on Electrocute. It seems like there's a lot of builds out there right now that are based on one skill, because, for example, I have 40% bonus damage to Electrocute. So at that point, I'm just highly incentivized to buff Electrocute as much as I can. It's already doing the majority of my damage. It does more damage than Wave of Force, which of course is a resource spender, but I have it on there to give myself 15% extra lightning damage. And the build can do pretty good damage, despite the fact that I have under 1 million damage fully buffed. I'm at 956,000. fully buffed. It's 3 buffs on. I'm gonna get my storm armor on there too. But I guess the bigger reason I like the build is because it's really good in groups. I have paralysis on, as well as a ring that does the same thing as paralysis, which makes it so lightning skills have a high chance to stun. I apologize for
Yeah,
the
I was just about to say, you've got that almost 20% chance to stun, so when you get into those groups, you're locking down everything, kind of like what the old CM Wizards of old would do. You have it all centralized for people to come in and unload on.
Yeah, and with the Weird Ring, it's actually almost 30% stun. Weird Ring does the same thing that paralysis does. And then the Fulminator has a chance to turn an enemy into a lightning rod to get some more lightning procs. I'm using Shocking Aspect on Storm Armor that gives some more lightning procs. Electrify on Magic Weapon. Spark Flint doesn't have a lightning rune. But really just trying to hit people with lightning damage as much as I can. I have a good amount of toughness for a wizard. Let's see, unbuffed I'm at 6.4 mil. Not huge, but more than most are running right now, just because I am melee.
And does that take into account your passives? Because aren't you using Blur as well for that extra 17% reduced damage?
I am using Blur, and I don't even know. Let's find out right now. I don't even know if Blur gets... If your toughness gets changed by Blur. Yeah, I guess it might, because bonus to... or reduction from melee damage does get factored in if it's on your gear. So let's find this out live. Let me get away from some enemies so I can actually change this out, and we'll see if my toughness gets changed when I take off that one passive. So while I'm moving, it's 6.4. It's higher when I'm standing still because of Unwavering Will. But when I take off Blur, yeah, it does go down. So yeah, okay. 5.3 completely unbuffed.
So yeah, because I know there's some that will actually show the increase in toughness, and other ones won't. It's just it's like it's having an effect. You have to believe us.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm such a noob. I don't know when they changed this. Blur decreases all damage now.
Yeah, no, it's not just melee damage. I think they reduced it. It used to be 20% melee damage, and now it's 17% all damage.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are. I don't know why you guys are watching this podcast. I clearly have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, looks like Blur's better. No one used Blur before.
Yep.
Because you don't want to take melee damage. So yeah, that's a good change. I should have noticed that earlier. Yeah, I didn't notice it in early beta. I wonder if it's been since then, or if maybe I just completely ignore Blur now. Who knows? But yeah, the build works pretty well. It's not going to work nearly as well if you don't have the Weird Ring, or bonus to lightning damage, bonus to electrocute. But it's a good example of synergy and skills. Take skills that normally wouldn't do much damage at all, and you can double or triple the damage, getting the right synergy. And yeah, I think it's a good example of why it's important to go off your legendaries for your build, and not be stubborn about what build you're going for.
Especially in the beginning, you can go through and you can play the build that you want to, unless it's 100% dependent upon an item. Something like what is it? The Soul Smasher, the two-handed axe from the Act 5 bounties that makes it so whenever you kill an enemy, it makes your life on kill damage do damage instead of healing you and explode the enemy in a 20-yard radius. Yeah. I've seen someone that had that drop on their barbarian, and so they've been going through to try and find life on kill as much as they can. You've gotten some pretty decent crits, because it's like I think 1,000 up to 1,000% damage off of it. It's pretty
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Completely useless against bosses that don't spawn mobs, but it's fun for just going through and clearing rifts. But just go with what the legendaries, what legendaries you have drop. Make the most of it. It might not be the one that you want, but it will help you get the one that you want by allowing you to clear more efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it seems like you're always going to be saving up legendaries for builds you're not currently using. And really, I feel like it's kind of becoming more similar to World of Warcraft, which a lot of people hate. Don't make Diablo like World of Warcraft, right?
Don't say that word.
Don't say it, yeah. But in World of Warcraft, what ends up happening is you collect one main build, one set of gear that you're really good at, and then you have like off builds that you try out when you're not, doing important stuff. And I think it's probably going to end up being the same way, because you really just naturally end up investing in whatever build you're using at the time, or whatever build you're committing to.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to throw away these really good legendaries that are for other builds.
Definitely not, and especially just coming as a hardcore player, you want to hold on to like everything. Those are the bad set shoulders. I can talk, I promise. Um, that you had dropped. You don't want to throw those away because even though they themselves are garbage, if that makes your 6-piece set bonus,
Yeah.
you're going to use it, because the set bonuses for a lot of the sets now are just, they are insane, and the level of power or what they do for your character. So it
Yeah.
might be garbage for now, but you hold on to it for a couple weeks, and that's going to be your last piece until you can replace it, and you'll be thankful that you did.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really glad they made that change too, making the set bonus affixes significantly better than regular legendaries. It seems like it was a move between making it so you can decide if you want to collect the set or not, or just use a few pieces, to either use this set or use something else. Like the
Hmm.
set's worth it if you have the set. Otherwise, it seems like most set pieces are pretty bad on their own, or at least mediocre at best.
Yeah, some of them are. Mainly, it's because the set pieces themselves, with a very few exceptions, like the Donettas, the two-handed crossbow set, they have no bonus themselves. It's the only benefit you're getting is by wearing them together. So having just the one, unless it rolls godly, you don't really have a reason to use it until you get the second piece.
Yeah.
Um, that was one of the things that I'm actually surprised that they didn't, latch on to, because that was one of the core aspects of many of the Diablo 2 legendaries. I've been a longtime Diablo player, so when we start doing these podcasts, I am going to rant about things as they were. Um,
I
Not
play.
that I want Diablo 2.5. I completely love Diablo 3, but it's just taking a nod of where everything's come from.
Yeah.
That all most of those sets, they had, not only did they have the set bonus, but they had incremental bonuses. One of the big ones, I'm trying to remember now, it's the angelic set, where people would use like the ring and the amulet, not because of the set bonus itself, but because I can't remember which one it was, whether it was the ring or the amulet, gave you attack rating, so you could actually hit monsters, and it scaled with your level. So it wasn't the set bonus, but it was the actual bonus that unlocked on the item itself when you had those two pieces. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's a
so
pretty cool idea.
if you just go through and you look up on the main site, the Danetta's Spite, those two crossbows, they have an individual fix on the item itself. And if they did something more like that, with the sets, they'd make it better if you're only using like one piece, or if you have the intermediary, between like the 2 and the 4-piece set bonus, when some little things like that. It's something that they could definitely do in the future, though. There's nothing stopping them from adding more items to the game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, I think they're definitely taking itemization in the right direction. I think most players are um, really liking the new itemization more than vanilla. And yeah, I mean, really, the set bonuses, they combo so well, the legendary bonuses as well with the skills right now, that it just doesn't make sense to not form your build off of the gear you have at that time.
Hmm. Definitely.
Well, was there anything else we want to talk about regarding the builds? Are we ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, because unfortunately I've got really nothing to show at the moment. That hopefully won't be a problem. I am leveling up a softcore character, so that way we can at least go through and play together on the stream if we're going to go through and show some things, and have a character that might not accidentally die the day before the podcast.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
Go through and show things off. But that'll be fun, and I mean, that's also going to be something that we'll be talking about, since I am predominantly a hardcore player. When we do start talking about builds, or people start sending in suggestions, if you are a hardcore player, or you have questions about playing hardcore, or if you want to make a transition into hardcore, please send us your questions. I definitely would love to be able to answer them or help you out. And then I'll also talk about if there's certain things that might make a build, better for hardcore. What some of the skill alternatives that you might want to take for that. This is something that we'll be covering in future shows.
Yeah, definitely. And Nine Ball's super active on Twitter, and I'm trying to be better at it. But
Mhm.
overall, we really want this show to be driven by you guys a lot. So we're really hoping you guys are down to give some feedback. Builds and challenges are something that we could use every week. If you guys have a build that's working really well for you, you think would be a good thing to highlight on the stream, feel free to send it. Again, Ark on the Wizard on Twitch, Ark on the Wizard, or at 9ballgamer on Twitter, and we'll have an email address soon, I promise. And
our Twitter is, if you ever have any questions about spelling, our Twitter accounts are right below our faces here.
Yes, if you can see the stream, it is written there. And yeah, so and as far as challenges, we're looking for things that me and 9ball could kind of go at each other with. Who can come up with the best build? Who can do this the fastest? Things that we could show off on the podcast within, I would say, 15 minutes or so. So we're not taking up too much time. Any ideas? Throw them at us. Any feedback would be great. We're gonna really be tuning the show to what you guys like, and yeah, sorry.
Definitely our first improvement for our second episode is we will have an email address for you to send those comments into.
See, the show's already getting better.
We're making improvements for you already. Who else can say that?
There you go. So yeah, I think that's about it. Did we miss anything before we wrap this up? Before we end it?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching the pilot episode of Westmarch Workshop. It was a lot of fun. It went a little bit better than I thought it would, to be completely honest. And
this guy was so worried. He's like freaking out beforehand. It's like, I hope we're not bad. You know, it's like don't worry, just let it flow. It'll go. And
yeah.
We talked for 40 minutes about the news.
There you go.
So
I think it flowed. I think it flowed out nice and smooth, and hopefully it'll continue to do so.
It'll only get better from here.
Yes. So thank you again. Tune in next week. Westmarch Workshop, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Follow us on Twitter at Ark on the Wizard and at 9ballgamer. And we'll have some more builds, challenges, and news for you guys soon. Thanks for watching.
Take it easy.